FullEp podcast, where we believe the Christian should be the most well-read, the most well-informed person in the room. And of course, this is episode 26. And we've been developing a case to show that belief in God is, as the cause of the universe, is the most reasonable and really the best explanation of reality. And we started the moral argument. This is part 2 of the moral argument. And what I want you to understand, and again, J. Warner Wallace is a good one to look into, but he looked at the case for Christianity from a cold case detective's perspective. And so he looked at actually the Gospels from, with that eye of a detective. And he realized and he saw, of course, these are eyewitness testimonies. He makes a living with eyewitness testimonies. These are, historical eyewitness testimonies. But he set it up and explained it kind of like building a case. And I found that very compelling, very compelling. And so I want to use this also in the belief in God. God is the creator and also his very existence as kind of that building a case. But we're going to look a little more at the case against that idea and the case for evolution and atheism. Well, understand this. With any case, we'll say a murder case, just so you understand it. One fact can blow everything else out of the water and can destroy the entire case. For instance, let's just pretend we have a murder case. And my client, let's say the defense, and yes, it's true, my client did not like the victim. Okay, there's some circumstantial evidence right there that might say he did it. Also, yes, my client has a 9mm at home, and the hole in the murder victim is from a 9mm. That's true. However, my client was 200 miles away at the time of the murder. He was sitting in a waiting room. We have eyewitness accounts of that, and we have video, security video, to prove, yeah, he didn't like him. Yeah, he has a 9mm, but he was 200 miles away at the time of the murder. So therefore, that one fact, you can add up all these other things. That throws the whole case out. Well, understand this. The atheist evolutionists have multiple things like this. We talked about some, I'll add some others, that one of these facts will blow up the entire case. They're impossible. Any one of them, for instance, and we talked about this earlier, nothing created everything. Can't happen. So forget about everything else. That whatever evidence you have, boy, you can line up bones, but throw the whole thing out because nothing cannot create everything. The fine-tuning in these 100 parameters within chemistry and physics and down to the atomic structure of things, gravity, all these parameters that are absolutely so unbelievably fine-tuned, each of these. Without it being so precisely fine-tuned, it is statistically impossible. It's impossible. That couldn't happen. So that's another one, but just throw the whole case out. Life came from non-life. Doesn't happen, can't happen. It's a law in biology, the law of biogenesis. Life can only come from life. So right there, well, we need one miracle, they say, or even 2 miracles. Just give us that one miracle that life came from non-life, and then it all happened without God. Well, nope, that throws it all out. One species turned into another species. We never saw it happen. Like I said, I could put a roller skate, a skateboard, and a wagon and a Buick in a line and they say, well, this proves they evolved from one another. No, they look a little bit like each other, but putting them in a sequence doesn't mean they evolved from it. Here's proof. That doesn't prove anything. We don't see it. The Darwin's finches in the Galapagos Islands, this is all that happened. Their beaks changed a little bit. Not the actual beak on this one bird changed. No. The number of birds with that beak changed. And it has to do with rainy season, dry season. They figure that out. But guaranteed, one of these finches is not going to become a Galapagos elephant. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Well, their nose changed. Yep. A little bit. And of course, it was the number of birds with either a thicker beak or thinner beak and all that. But it never turned, you know what it stayed? It stayed a finch. We have never seen a species turn into another species. Never will. Reproduction. Here, I love this one. You know, they claim this mutant fish. It has half a gill. It has starting of a lung, half fin, half leg, starting to crawl out and going to evolve. Well, here we go. Ask an evolutionist friend this. And let's say that did crawl out and was able to survive, this mutant. Where did it find its wife? It would have to, the exact same weird mutant with female body parts. And this guy, this mutant, half fish, half lung, half gill, half flipper, this mutant finds another one that just so happens to be female and they reproduce? Impossible. Actually funny and absurd when you think about it. So again, any one of these, they quit using the fossil record because the fossil record, more and more, the more we dig, the more we find out the fossil record matches the biblical narrative. They're finding dinosaur bones with soft tissue still in it. That means it's not 70 million years old. Well, any one of these, like I said, would just, it's the, I guess, the poison pill. And they have multiple, and I could keep going, but I won't. Any one of these blows up the whole argument. Now, what a scientist would do is you actually need a new theory. And I'm gonna talk about that in a upcoming episode. But you could say, well, wait. With all this evidence and the science and the mathematics involved, the probabilities involved, why is this theory still alive and kicking? Well, I'm glad you ask. Because it's not a scientific argument. It's not that there's not enough evidence. It's a spiritual argument. And it's not a head problem. It's not a scientific problem. It's not an evidence problem. It's a heart problem that the atheist evolutionists have. And actually, I'll prove it to you. This is a philosopher, Thomas Nagel, a atheist, but an honest atheist. He said this: I want atheism to be true, and am made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. Well, and again, that's my goal. I want you to be well-informed because you know what? A well-informed Christian rocked Thomas Nagel's world. He said, I am uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. It isn't just that I don't believe in God, and naturally I hope that I'm right in my belief. It's that I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be God. I don't want the universe to be like that. So why is this theory still alive and kicking? Because that's the philosophy of an atheist. He just simply, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want the universe to be that way. I don't want there to be a God. Now, here's another one. Richard Lewison. He's an evolutionary biologist and a geneticist and a mathematician, by the way. But this is why. Here it is. We take the side of science in spite of the patent absurdity of some of its constructs, in spite of its failure to fulfill many of its extravagant promises of health and life, in spite of the tolerance of the scientific community for unsubstantiated just so stories. Because we have a prior commitment, a commitment to materialism, we cannot allow a divine foot in the door. Now, what he means by just so stories is the story, the fable of evolution. That's what he means. But there's only one other alternative, God. And so he said, I'll believe the ridiculous before I believe God. I'll believe that life came from everything came from nothing. I'll believe that life came from non-life. I'll believe all the ridiculous, the absurdity of science, just so I don't have to face this idea that there's a God. Well, this brings me back now to this moral argument that we wanted to talk about. And a second part, and again, I love the moral argument. Well, we talked about this being a spiritual conversation and a spiritual argument, and why the science, they follow the science. The science points to a creator and that the Bible is being true. So it's spiritual, and really, see, morals, what's right and wrong. You can't find that in a test tube. You can't find that through experimentation and the scientific method. You can't find it by evolution atheists. A lot of them are materialists, meaning there's no spiritual anything. There's just matter, just matter. That's all there is, just matter. Right and wrong. You can't get right and wrong from matter. Again, it has to be spiritual. There has to be a transcendent lawgiver. Otherwise, we talked about it last time. Otherwise, it's just opinion. Right and wrong is opinion. And Hitler convinced everybody in Germany it's okay to kill Jews. Well, then it's okay to kill Jews. And then here's where they come to, and this is one of their arguments, and we'll talk about this, and then we'll close it up here. It's just checked before I came. It is 5 degrees outside, really cold, and it's a Sunday, and we'll be heading to night church here shortly. But throughout the animal world, animals kill animals. Lions kill zebras. Lions kill. There's predation. Okay, lions kill zebras. Cheetahs kill antelope. There's killing. Okay. Well, wait a second. If evolution is true, and chimps kill other chimps too, by the way, not just for to eat them. They do cannibalize them, but it's more one tribe or whatever you call them, one army of chimps will attack the territory of another one and attack and kill their alpha. Okay, so this is, well, the chimps are closer to humans. So I would like to ask your evolutionist friend, regarding the moral argument here. If we're just animals and we just evolved, when did murder become wrong? It happens in the animal world all the time. So at some point we went from, we get to kill. We never put a lion in jail. We never put a chimp in jail for killing another chimp. That's just nature. That's what happens in nature. Somehow, some way, all of a sudden murder's wrong. For me to kill another human is one of the worst crimes There are. When did this happen? When along the evolutionary time scale did we, and more or less that's what they said, yeah, well, we just decided, collectively as a society, we just decided that murder is wrong. And I'm like, when? When did this happen? When was there a meeting of Neanderthals grunting and with their clubs? Or later on, when their brain reached a certain CC size, that they had this meeting and they decided, lying is wrong and murder is wrong, and we probably shouldn't. When did this happen? No, there's been a lot of important meetings, in the history of the world. And a lot of important documents are signed. The Magna Carta is signed, the Mayflower Compact is signed, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. We have meetings we see in Acts chapter 15. We have the Council of Nicaea. We have the Council of Constantinople. We have the Council of Ephesus, multiple. And these meetings were important, and they were documented, and we know exactly what happened there. We have the testimonies. When did this meeting happen when human beings evolved enough to decide murder was wrong? I've never heard the answer to that. Well, we just decided murder's wrong. When? Because it never was. Animals killed animals. We're animals. We evolved from chimps, I guess, apes. At what point did we come up with murder's wrong? And we'll just stick with murder. Again, this is what the Bible says. Okay. And it's something that our laws reflect God's 10 commandments that he wrote on those tablets. And from those laws sprung our laws. And this is what's amazing. Who has the authority to state this is wrong, and it's wrong universally, all over the world, objectively, this is wrong? Who's got that authority? Not only that, and of course, God is the answer, obviously. Not only that, and we all know this, he also wrote those laws on our hearts. We're told that in the Bible, and we know that with our conscience, because when we do something wrong, we feel guilt. Where did that come from? And this idea, I know I did wrong. Nobody had to tell me. I didn't have to read a law book. That little kid who hit his brother with a bat, Dean and Andy Noonan, hit his brother with a bat, and that little kid knows to hide that bat and lie to his dad, say, I didn't do it. He had it written on his heart. He knew he did wrong. His conscience got to him. And then he knew enough to lie because he knew he was wrong as a little kid. Well, you know what? That book right there can explain that. Absolutely can explain that. Moral argument, one of my favorite argument for the existence of God. There has to be a God. We'll see you next time.